Well, we're here near Melbourne in Australia with Bettina Hoy, and it's been a really hot couple of days. And it's now raining, Bettina, so you probably feel more at home now that it's cooled down a bit.
Definitely, but I think, everyone here in the country is obviously cherishing the rain because I think it is much needed. So I'm happy for everyone that is happy that it is raining, and I've got a beautiful indoor arena here, so it's no big deal.
Well, I was very happy yesterday to be able to ride with you. That was a great experience for me. You're obviously over here in Australia to teach for a little while, but you've left your horses back at home. Do they have some time off now and rest?
No, they actually don't. They're all back in full work. I've got a very nice, really good riding working student from Scotland, Alison West, and she very kindly accepted to come across to Germany, to Warendorf, and keep my horses going for me. And my dressage coach, Carola Koppelmann, who used to be on the B squad of the German dressage team, she's riding Lanfranco and Design on a couple of times a week, just to keep them really tuned up in the dressage phase. And the jumping they won't do until I get back, so that will be absolutely fine.
Right. And Lanfranco obviously is your top horse. Tell us a little bit about him.
He's been probably the most complex character, horse-wise, that I ever had to deal with. Watermill Stream was not easy. Cockatoo had his little quirks. But Lanfranco has definitely been the most difficult horse I've ever had. We tipped over on numerous occasions when he was being really difficult and rearing up. And it comes out of a nervousness. And some horses, when they get intimidated or nervous, they just back off and get really shy. And he becomes, unfortunately, a little bit aggressive. So it's always quite a tricky situation. I've done a lot with some horsemanship training. I use one of these horsemanship head collars on him to get him to the trot up, to even get him to the trot up. And after the dressage and the jumping phase at Burghley, we put that head collar over his bridle again in order to lead him back to the stables. So we're doing a lot of work on the ground, which I've never ever done in my life before, because I wouldn't call myself an alternative person in regards to...
You're not a Pirelli trainer.
No, not at all, not at all. But I have to say, with Lanfranco, it has made a big difference. I keep it very simple, and it's literally just telling him to yield to the pressure. Like when I say, you're here, just relax, take your head down. I'm with you, and while I'm with you, you're fine. I'm the leader of the pack. Yeah. I take over responsibility for you, and then we can do this together. And it has made a huge difference. He probably will always be very unpredictable and not easy, but he sort of tries to cope with the situation, and I think we've just built a really good bond and a very good partnership over the last few years, and I was absolutely ecstatic with the way he went at Burghley, which was really good, because I feel he's doing it for me. He probably wouldn't do it for another person, but he certainly is willing to try and overcome his fears and do it for me, which is a lovely feeling.
And so that partnership thing, you feel that's very strong in getting success with a horse?
Yeah, I do believe, Cockatoo was a very different horse in the fact that he was actually very insecure, and probably, in hindsight now, he probably wasn't the scopiest horse. And again, we had such a strong bond. I mean, other riders had tried him before in getting him over 3-star, and it hasn't worked. And so, with having that strong bond with a horse, that's why I prefer to not have too many horses. It gives me the time to focus on the ones that I have, but it also gives me time to go and teach, which is what I love doing. I love, passing my knowledge on and sharing my experience that I've made over the years. But I do believe, especially in our sport, it is very important to have a strong bond with your horse.
And you mentioned Rick Good Cockatoo there, and for a long time, because of his name, and obviously Andrew rode him for a while, I thought he was an Australian horse, but he wasn't, was he?
No, he's Irish.
Yeah.
He's Irish, and he's only named that way because Cockatoo, obviously because he's white, grey, and Ringwood is all the horses that come from the Lennarts. they get that prefix Ringwood. He was born and bred and competed as a young horse in show jumping classes in Ireland, and then came over to England and then obviously to Germany.
And what's he doing now? He's retired?
He's retired. He retired in 2009, and he's just doing some low-level dressage with some friends. So he's in England. He's back in England. I wanted him to be in England because I didn't want anyone on him, you know, and chasing rosettes, and, you know, squeezing that last little bit of life out of him. I wanted someone that really appreciates what he's done, and knows how to deal, you know, with older horses, with old gentlemen. And Claire Llewellyn certainly does do that, and he's got a very happy and lovely home there.
Lucky boy. And a couple of young and upcoming horses that you've got coming up. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, I think the most exciting horse that I have in my yard at the moment is a horse called Signor Medicot. He's only 7, and he hasn't done that much yet. He's only competed at a little bit pre-novice and novice level, but he would probably be one of the most talented horses I've ever had. He's the most beautiful type of horse. He looks like a thoroughbred. He is very close to being a pure thoroughbred. Oh. His sire is a racing blood, is a racing stallion, or was a racing stallion, and his dam is Trakehner Cross thoroughbred. He's got the most amazing movements, like you could turn him into a dressage horse, and he's also a very good jumper. So I'm really excited about him. And then I obviously have Designer. He's 9 this year. He's competed up to 3-star, very successful. He used to be a little bit more difficult on the flat, like he's a very good jumper, but his dressage certainly needs a lot more improving. He's got a little bit of a difficult neck, a little bit short, so he needs to gain a lot more strength. And I don't know whether he certainly will never be in the same league dressage-wise as Cockatoo was. But I think Signor Medicot and Mick, as we call him, or Mickey, I think Mickey definitely can be one day.
And is it true that Lanfranco is named after Frankie Dettori?
That's right. Yeah. The daughter of the breeder, Dr. Leonard's daughter, Maria, she is a huge fan of Frankie Dettori, and that's why he was called Lanfranco.
But you don't do the leap off the horse at the end of the round.
Well, he does the leaping, so I don't have to do it.
You just stay put.
Exactly. I just stay there and he does the leaping for me.
So when you get back to Europe after your trip over here in Australia, you're going to be settling over in the UK shortly.
Yes, that's a plan. Yeah. I'd like to go back to England, sort of ideally be back latest by the end of March, and I will be based with Rodney Powell, which is like, so not far from Badminton, and it's like an area where I prefer to be because most of my friends are in that area.
Eventing heaven.
Yeah, exactly. There's, you know, lots of my students are close by, like Paul Tapner, Bill Levitt, Mark Todd is close by, who's a very good friend, and Andrew Nicholson. Like, there's so many people in that area that I'm really good friends with, and it's nice to be somewhere where your friends are.
Yeah, it's lovely. And you do teach quite a few of the Australians. You've just mentioned Bill and Paul, and also New Zealand's Janelle Richards. Do you tend to gravitate towards teaching Australians, or do they gravitate towards you?
Well, I don't know. It just so happened that, you know, obviously you meet on the circuit, and then you get asked. I mean, I have got British and Swedish and English, Irish students as well, and a lot of American students. I regularly go to America to teach there, and my main student over there is Michael Pollard, and his wife Natalie. So yeah, I don't know, they somehow find me and like to have lessons, and I like to share my knowledge. Yeah. I think probably what's different to me is that, like a pure dressage trainer is used to warm bloods, so it's used to riding really big, fancy moving horses, whereas in our sport we get a lot of horses that have either been in racing or that have been polo ponies, or, you know, they were meant to do something completely different to what we're asking them to do. And so you have to be a little bit more inventive in finding ways of teaching those horses how to move really big and how to jump very well and be careful and be, you know, shifting their balance from the front end a little bit more onto the back end. And I think that's where I probably found my niche a little bit, that I know how to deal with thoroughbreds, because it's not quite the same, obviously, as, you know, working with a warm blood dressage horse who are more, you know, bred to move that way. We have to teach those horses very new tricks and a very new way of using their body. And I've done that for so many years, and in particular with difficult horses like Lanfranco. Watermid Stream was a very difficult horse on the flat, so I've gained a lot of knowledge thanks to a lot of amazing trainers that I was lucky to work with. You know, my father was foremost, also Klaus Balkenhol, who's just been, you know, a really fantastic trainer, Dolph Keller, and obviously our national coaches, whether it's Chris Bartle or Hans Melzer, who I learned a lot from, and so it's great to put all that knowledge together and, you know, being able to pass that on now.
So down the track, do you see yourself as becoming a full-time trainer at some point, or?
I'd certainly like to do, you know, a lot of training. At the moment, I'm thinking of some other avenues of making some money, and I'm doing that together with a friend. Which would be more sort of into the public speaking area, because I was told that, you know, obviously as an athlete you go through lots of ups and downs, and you can do a lot of talking about how you deal with pressure situations, with stress, with failure, and also, you know, how you motivate yourself all the time, and also how I communicate with my horse, because, and I think that is something that very much applies to, you know, people that are in leading positions in a business. Obviously they can use their voice and they can talk to their fellow workers or people that they employ, but sometimes it's their body language that is maybe not as they want it to be or as it should be. And I think that is something, you know, dealing with horses, where body language on and off the horse is very important. I think that is something that I could teach and pass on, and that is something that I'm just sort of an area that I'm quite interested in, and I've got a friend I could do it with together, so I'm looking into that as well. But I definitely want to keep the training going because I enjoy the training, I enjoy passing my knowledge on. But I just want to be a little bit more versatile rather than just doing the horses. At some stage, probably it is quite nice if you don't have to stand in a freezing indoor arena in the middle of the winter. Or boiling hot. And if you can just say, well, I do a little bit of that, yes, but I also have another avenue of earning some money.
Yeah, it's always nice to have different skills and meet different people too, anyway.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
But not that far down the track. So 2013, you're still riding horses and there's still things. So what's coming up for this year, do you think?
Well, we obviously have European Championships. My horses, both of my horses designed at Lanfranco are on the team squad at the moment, in our championship squad, or A squad, how we call it. But I mean, there is, as you know, there's a lot of competition in Germany, so it's not going to be easy to get back onto a team because the competition is so strong. But I think it is very good that there's strong competition and that we have got all these young people like Michael Jung, Sandra Auffahrt, really, you know, pushing for the team spots. It keeps me motivated, it keeps me, you know, on my toes and still wanting to do it. But I would say I probably only have an outside chance of making it to the European Championships because of the way Lanfranco is. He is a bit of an unpredictable horse. I love him to bits, and you know, I wouldn't want to, in a way, have him any different, because I think if I do get him round, he will do it for me. But yeah, I'll see. I'm looking at the moment. I'm looking at competing at badminton in Burghley because I enjoyed my Burghley experience last year, and I want to take him to badminton in the spring. And then, you know, whatever happens, I'm quite happy with that. I can wait for Senior Medicot, you know, to come into the limelight. And up until then, I think the two that I have, you know, they keep me at that level, competing at that level, and being out there. And that's really what I want to do at the moment. Like I've been at so many championships. I don't feel that I have to prove anything to anyone. I just want to go out and enjoy myself and do it for fun.
Well, that sounds like a lovely way to live your life. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
Pleasure,
and lovely to see you here in Australia, and I hope
you.
you come back soon.
Yes, I hope to be coming back sometime in October, November time.
Great.
In the spring.
Okay.
So that I can maybe help people a little bit on their way to Adelaide.
Yep.
And then pick some other clinics up in between for the ones that are not going to Adelaide. So yeah, that's sort of the plan at the moment. Thank you.
Lovely. Well, hope to see you then.
Thanks
Thank you
very much.